It's been a long time since I last talked to Lord Drone. I wonder if he's seen the GlitchX stream already.
Good day. You've got something in your ear.
And his name is...
So, I've been thinking lately. The Amazing Digital Circus has more views in his pilot than the entirety of Murder Drone Season 1. Why do you think that is?
Because people like it.
Our episodes are missing something crucial. Do you have any clue of what that might be?
Better pacing? How about less comedy and more genuine character growth?
Very cold, buddy. You obviously need to think bigger.
What is it then?
It is quite obvious. We need some gothic architecture.
Excuse me?
That's right. It's time to Notre Dame all over this show. Seriously, how long has it been since we got Murder Drones news? A lot has happened since then. I got a job in a research center, we threw Uzi into a black hole, and I blew up the planet. Twice. Just your average October. But enough about myself. I know why you're here. You want me to analyze the whole GlitchX stuff that happened a few days ago. Before we go into the analysis though, I think we should do a quick recap of the 6 theories we made since the last episode released. Perhaps you need a refresher after such a long time. So, first off, we've theorized that disassembly drones are upgraded versions of worker drones infected with the Absolute Solver. We can describe the Absolute Solver as some sort of hive mind alien parasite that thrives in drones with damaged AI. Still, the Absolute Solver's influence over the disassembly drones is subdued by Sing's admin rights, thus protecting them from possession. It is only after they've taken substantial damage that the Absolute Solver breaks completely free. Disassembly drones were sent to Copper 9 to kill Solver-powered drones, either the original Cabin Fever Lab subjects, or their offspring like Doll or Uzi. They would see them as targets to kill, in order to stop the Absolute Solver parasite from spreading even further. Aside from that, we also inferred that both Uzi and Doll are faltering to the Absolute Solver's control. For Uzi, it's pretty obvious to see why. The last shot we got of Uzi in episode 6 has her right eye colored yellow, which coincides with the eye that usually turns into the Solver symbol. Given that Doll has an eye patch on her right eye, this leads me to believe that Doll is falling to possession as well. Doll turning to the Absolute Solver would additionally explain these 2 scenes in episode 4, where we see the Absolute Solver first, before seeing Doll right after. These are not 2 distinct characters, but rather, they're one and the same. In these scenes, Doll starts exhibiting the same features as other possessed hosts. Speaking of possessed hosts, we theorized that Nori, possessed by the Absolute Solver, could have caused the collapse of Copper 9. There's a huge chasm around the Cabin Fever Labs, as we know from this episode 6 blueprint. Not to mention, we also have Alice's line here, which kind of gives it away.
Nori, right? Sure thought killing all them folks was pretty slick.
I also imagine that Eva was in on this as well, given that her post-collapse photos seem to picture her with some sort of PTSD, as if aware of the atrocity she committed long ago. Besides, as far as we know, these are the only 2 Cabin Fever Labs drones that have made it out of the facilities alive, which need I remind, it's completely underground. It's possible that they flew their way up to the surface after the explosion made a hole in the ground. Okay, what else? There's this bonkers hypothesis that the Absolute Solver's final form might be a series of black holes engulfing different planets. Oh, and there is also the idea that the X symbols in the disassembly drone's visor is an indicator of Sin's administrator rights blocking the Absolute Solver.
What about the good Sin theory?
Ah, yes, the controversial stuff. So, episode 6 revealed that it was Sin who sent the disassembly drones to Copper 9.
The last known act was sicking you lot on the human exoplanets.
We do know that best character was possessed by the Absolute Solver on Earth. And sure, as the Absolute Solver possessed more and more drones, the Earth finally gets destroyed. But there is a time skip between Earth's destruction and the current events of the show. And now, it seems that Sin not only is alive, but working with JC Jensen as well.
Jay, relay hand, Sin's orders.
I theorized that Sin broke free from possession and is in charge of creating and protecting this assembly drones from corruption thanks to her admin rights. As such, she would send them to different planets in order to fight off the Absolute Solver. There are admittedly a few lines from V that are in opposition to this theory.
New body, same horrors. Huh, Sin? Anything to screw Sin's plan.
But still, I don't believe she has the entire picture about this just yet.
It's okay, N. I haven't been honest with V yet.
Right then, so those are all the theories we have. A fine collection, if I do say so myself. Now, as you may know, GlitchX happened recently. We had a Q&A session with Vickers, and of course, we have the episode 7 and 8 teaser. So, obviously, the big question is, does the Q&A or the teaser outright debunk any of the theories we have at the moment? Surprisingly, no. Neither of the lore dumps we got contradicts any of our claims. I'd say we are on the right track so far. Allow me to pat myself on the back for this one. Having said that, what should we cover first from GlitchX? Should we tackle the Q&A, or should we go for the teaser?
I think we can jump straight to the teaser.
Q&A it is. Hey, come on. It's the easy stuff. We'll cover the teaser eventually.
Oh, you stink!
Seriously, we'll get there. Put the gun down. Trust me. This is not going to take us very long. Even if the Q&A session didn't go into many lore details, believe it or not, we do have a few things to talk about here. Starting with the confirmation that Thad was relegated to a background character.
Season 1, I think, shows still kind of finding what it is, like its tone. It kind of turns out the stakes in the characters kind of outgrew going to school. It's a little hard to justify that when there's crazy, insane Eldritch stuff happening. Thad, you stay in school, be a good child.
Never forget what they took from us. We also got a pretty interesting lore drop in the Q&A. Robobugs act as the cleanup crew of the show.
The lore reason behind them is like they're kind of like a cleanup crew, self-replicating kind of cleanup robot that they accidentally became a pest for, biological stuff.
This actually makes a lot of sense. For every time a Robobug shows up, there's usually corpses hanging around. We do get a glimpse of this in episode 3, and in hindsight, I think this is how Yuzi realized there was a dead Cabin Fever Labs drone in this scene of episode 4.
Huh?
What did you just say about me, you little bitch? I'll have you know I graduated top of my class in the Navy SEALs, and I've been involved in numerous secret... I have 300 confirmed kills. I am trained in guerrilla warfare. And
now, onto the more interesting stuff.
Tessa's spaceship design, I think you'll see why some design elements are the way they are. We got some intentionality going on here. It feels like the humans being abstracted. It makes more sense, and it feels natural in the world. And also we do have an explanation for why they're kind of like redacted like that, but...
That's interesting. All this time, I imagined Tessa's shadow design was a result of N's jumbled up memories. We do see shadow-like scripts around her in this episode 2 flashback. Some people think that Tessa could be a cyborg controlled by Sin, and while I'm not a believer of this particular theory, if there is some underlying deep meaning behind Tessa's design, I'll be glad to be shocked when episode 7 releases. Lastly, as expected, we had official confirmation that drones grow up by uploading their core to upgraded models. But besides that, there's something really shocking that Vickers dropped in the middle of the Q&A session.
Because initially we think, oh, the murder drones were created by humans. Spoilers, they weren't.
What are you things?
So, humans didn't make the disassembly drones. And if humans didn't create them, then we essentially have two possible choices here. Either the Absolute Solver created the disassembly drones, using Sin as a host, or Sin herself created the disassembly drones out of her own volition, by transferring the worker drone's AI core to another body, and injecting them with the Absolute Solve mutation, like I established in my good Sin theory. Obviously, I'm more inclined to believe the latter, rather than the former. After all, let's imagine that Sin is still a host of the Absolute Solver, If that's the case, why would the Absolute Solver prevent this assembly drones being possessed by using admin rights? Heck, why would the Absolute Solver send this assembly drones to kill what could be many potential Solver hosts? It doesn't really make much sense to me, all things considered. Again, one of two choices here. Either Sin created the disassembly drones and good Sin theory is true, or the Absolute Solver did it, and I get cancelled on Twitter. We'll crash and burn on this one, folks. And that's it. That's everything meaningful from the Q&A.
Really? That's all?
Hang on, there's actually something else. The Copper 9 Pizzeria is here. Yes, it is the only pizzeria in the planet. This building, 37th floor. I have no evidence, but really, trust me on this one. We should go there sometime. Have ourselves a treat or something. What do you think?
I'm down. But wait, can drones really eat pizza?
Liam doesn't know, so heck if I do. But if we do die eating pizza, I think that would be a sick way to go out. Right then, so, that's the small stuff from the Q&A. Now it's time to go into the main course. Teaser analysis. Before we dig in though, I do have to make a quick disclaimer. This teaser was for both episodes 7 and 8, which means that any new scene or voice line could actually fall into either episode. Still, I suspect that everything we've been shown falls into episode 7. Mainly because Luke, Kevin, and Liam, they only talk about episode 7 after the teaser was revealed.
One of the biggest episodes we've worked on so far.
Yeah, episode 7 is insane. Like, it will pay off. I really mean that. Like, I've seen the stuff that's starting to come through in the animation team and the entire production team.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. It's pretty nutso across the board.
With that in mind, I'm going to analyze this teaser with the assumption that most of the new stuff, if not all of it, is likely from episode 7 instead of episode 8. We start off with a montage of random scenes, sprinkled with a couple voice lines in between. A few voice lines are completely new, so let's try to focus on them.
Thanks for giving me the planet, friggin' idiot.
We have Yuzi's laugh here, followed by the Absolute Solver's voice. Even if these two voice lines came one after another in the teaser, just in case, we should analyze them separately. I have two guesses as to where this latter line takes place. Either we get a flashback from N again, where we see the Absolute Solver taking over Earth, or we get this line by the end of the episode, leading up to episode 8. Since it played right after Yuzi's laugh, this initially could be enough to suggest that Yuzi could ultimately get fully possessed in episode 7, much like I predicted in my last video. Seems pretty straightforward all things considered. Unless she's not the host in this instance, and this is a curveball instead. It wouldn't be the first time a teaser would trip us up with voice cues. If you remember the episode 6 teaser, we had a baby cry, followed by doll's theme, then followed by a feminine laugh. Everyone thought a certain character would show up in episode 6 because of this. But then, of course, it all proved to be a red herring. I do find it very likely that Yuzi is the host here, though we should also take into account the other possible hosts available. Let's check out the new scenes, in order to iron this out. We begin with this mine shaft, which we can tell, is covered in Absolute Solver corruption. We've seen this Absolute Solver corruption many times already, both in episode 5, and in promotional images for episode 4. Aside from that, we also have this yellow thingy over here, which can be either a weird looking lamp, or, most likely, the leftover optical sensors of this assembly drone. Wouldn't be the first time we see those out in the open. We can see some spares lying around by the entrance of the cabin fever labs in episode 6. Moving on, we can later see the Absolute Solver's hands trying to drag N through this tunnel. Along with the voice line we heard before. Who is the host then? Well, we have 3 possible options. Again, it could most likely be Yuzi, if she finally turns completely by the end of the episode. It could also be V, if she does turn into a creepy worm after the ending of episode 6. In fact, throughout this teaser, there are many allusions to V, including these 2 new voice lines. It could also be Doll as well. Assuming that my theory is correct, and that she too is being possessed by the Absolute Solver. But there is also a fourth possibility here. There is another character that we know is a host of the Absolute Solver. A certain someone who Yeah, as much as I'd like that to happen, if you've been following my reasoning so far, you know that I doubt this is the case. If we do get another flashback scene, then sure, Sin is the host for this one specific voice line. But since I believe she's currently an ally, and not an enemy, in this particular instance in the mineshaft, my bet is that the host is either of these three. But enough host speculation. Let's head over to the next set piece. Hey, would you look at that? N and Uzi. Alone. Without Tessa. Just like I predicted. In my episode 7 prediction, I imagined that the trio would get separated, because N would engage in an argument with Tessa over killing Uzi. Still, there are other reasons someone could strand away from the pack. For example, N could have been captured by the Absolute Solver at the beginning of episode 7, either using Doll or V as a host, with Uzi running to save him. It is difficult to tell when this scene takes place specifically though, so do take this with a grain of salt. If you ask me, I would kind of prefer it this didn't happen, and N and Uzi run away over an argument with Tessa instead. Seems a little more character driven to me. Right, so, aside from that, Uzi's right eye is purple again. I was half expecting this color change to be permanent, but oh well. By the way, does anyone remember this place? Yes, I said remember. We have actually seen this same room in an earlier episode. If you have good eyes and a keen memory, you might just realize that the floor tiles of this specific room coincide one-to-one with the floor tiles of this security footage, where Nori becomes fully possessed by the Absolute Solver. And if you squint hard enough, you might spot the sign on the top of this cathedral that says, Lab Space for Sale. This cathedral, crazy as it sounds, also seems to be part of the Cabin Fever Labs as well. This next shot does imply it too, seeing that this room was assigned to Nori. Perhaps this cathedral is where true hosts are locked up, and as per Sin's directive, this is where Tessa will finally find which drones are infected. Before we continue though, one more thing about this shot. Can someone, anyone, please explain to me why there is natural lightning inside an underground lab? I really can't be the only one who noticed. There is lightning literally seeping inside a cave. And no, I'm not buying the argument that natural light can travel all the way through here. The episode 6 blueprint shows that the huge hole from the core collapse was sealed by rubble. I just made a video talking about the scientific consistency of this show. Don't make me take that away from you. Alright, deep breaths. This is just a silly show about silly robots. So, back to the analysis. I don't have much to say about this one specific scene, other than Uzi's hand light being yellow. And last but not least, we have this scene by the end of the teaser. Uzi is holding what seems to be a golden cross of some sort, and if we go frame by frame, her visor seems to be shattered, before the Absolute Solver seemingly takes control of her again. This is merely speculation, but perhaps this is the scene where she finally gives into the Absolute Solver. Whether that happens after some sort of traumatic reveal at all, like N being the one who killed Nori, that remains to be seen. Okay, to my knowledge, that's it for the teaser. I don't think I can squeeze anything else. I really wish I had something spectacular, but I'm afraid that is everything. JK, you thought. I actually saved the best for last. So, do you remember my core collapse theory, with Nori and Eva being the main culprits? Why do you think there was a shot of the planet's core collapsing, right after we've been shown Nori's room? That's right. Why else do you think we are going to get Eva and Nora's backstories in episode 7? They called me a lunatic. They said I was cookie crazy. And they were correct. I'm crazy. Crazy freaking right though. And I'm going to tell you just what happened. After JC Jensen noticed Eva and Nora's weird behavior, they sealed them both into this cathedral, in hopes to keep them away should they fall to possession. After both Eva and Nori fall to the Absolute Solver's influence, they both try to escape the Cabin Fever Labs facilities. The Sentinel drones that were deep underground started running after them, only for Eva and Nori to chain them up using their reality-bending powers. As they made their way up the Cabin Fever Labs, JC Jensen changed the Sentinel drone's mode to free roaming, throwing the entire kitchen sink at them, so that both possessed hosts would die before reaching the surface. With seemingly no way out, both Eva and Nori caused the collapse of Copper 9, and the resulting explosion was so big that they were able to fly away to the surface by using their solver powers, leaving the rest of the Cabin Fever Labs subjects powerless against the Sentinels. And after a brief time skip, what comes next is exactly what you expect. Both Eva and Nori give birth to Doll and Yuzi, and both Eva and Nori ultimately die by the hands of this assembly drone sent by Sin and JC Jensen. A few years after the core's collapse, it seems that the Absolute Solver wants to finish with Doll and Yuzi what it started with Eva and Nori. There's no telling what will happen next, except, of course, there is. Because wouldn't you know, the stakes are lining up with the episode 7 prediction I did back in the day. So, what else can I say? Like and subscribe. We will see for ourselves whether I'm truly right on this one or not. And with that, we close off the teaser analysis. Nothing else to add on my end. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. And, yeah, spring 2024. That's the release window. Yes, it is a bummer. I was really hoping we would get episode 7 this year. Still, I'm willing to wait. And besides, it's not like I don't have any plans. I still have many videos in my sleeve to make, and I'm hoping you'll be there to watch them too. Be on the lookout for that. Right then. See ya.
What's your name?